What is up, guys? PoliticsGaming here, and today we're doing a brand new video for the Commonwealth of Australia. So in the last episode, I actually had to re-record this one because of a new update that came out, and this update was actually pretty significant, so it kind of justified me basically kind of having to write a little bit of the lore behind this series. One of the changes that did occur is that I did have to run through the election again, and I guess I didn't do the stupid mistake that I had in the last episode, where I basically ran with like getting the social ecologists out of the race, but then, you know, I was really short politically, so I ended up kind of changing a little bit of the lore. So we do have a majority coalition with the AGC and the NFI, so that is pretty much reworked. But other than that, in this episode, we are going to be focusing on foreign policy. We're also going to be focusing on some spending measures. We are going to have to rebuild some of the things that we did, such as the national park, so we can start promoting tourism. We are going to start the process of building up our tourism industry, as well as other topics. So we're gonna kind of make this a pretty decent episode today, so leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here. So we're gonna have to go over to our finance part, and we're gonna see that our growth is at about 0.87%. We do have a economic attractiveness of about 6, which is going down. So we are gonna have to start working on, we do have aids for research, safety, and stability. We are pretty safe here. We could possibly start to lower things such as the wealth tax. I mean, we could actually maybe go for an energy cost transition, so that way we can start building up our reserves of electricity. But then we could also I think we could actually start relieving the tax burden that we have, but I'm afraid of alienating. What could we do that might not alienate the ecologists? Regulation of layoffs, I don't want to go against that. Aids for research, we could improve that. Economic alignment is always really good because we can just basically just improve our economic relations with everyone else. Let's go ahead and start with foreign policy then. We're going to go over to Indonesia, and we're going to start building our common ground with Indonesia. Papua New Guinea, let's get a bilateral foreign exchange agreement with them. And then we're going to do that with the Philippines, Taiwan. Let's try South Korea and Japan, but because usually sometimes if we have less good systems compared to them, they usually don't like to sign agreements with us. So Indonesia has accepted, Papua New Guinea has accepted, the Philippines has accepted, Taiwan has accepted, South Korea, good, accepted, and Japan has accepted. Okay, good. I want to go ahead and start building really close relations with Japan. We could actually benefit with the free trade agreement with them. And let's go ahead and initiate a year of culture dedicated to a country. This will both improve tourism with Japan and as well benefit economic relations immensely.
After their dismal loss in the elections, party leaders exchanged hard words and finally decided to dissolve.
Okay, hang on. The AGC, why did they dissolve? I mean, they did lose a significant amount of seats, but like, I mean, they're still in government. Why would they dissolve? Okay, let's go ahead and see what could come about that. We're gonna have to start expecting that our coalition could collapse within the coming days. So let's go ahead and move forward. Hopefully, I'm thinking. I mean, we still see them usually. I mean, I would assume that would be pretty immediate there. I remember in the last episode, I recorded this twice, so I actually had one in the previous update, and then I have one now, so this is going to be the new recording under the new update, 6.20. And whenever I did the previous one, they literally collapsed after that election, but then came back. So it was like, kind of like this weird like turnaround with the Greens. So I'm not expecting too much from them. But let's go ahead and see what happens, and hopefully this coalition doesn't fall apart within the first 15 minutes of this episode. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look here. So we did have some promises that we have to be upheld here. So in the previous episode, we did have an issue with gaining a majority. So in this next election, we're going to go ahead and pass this so that way we're moving from a proportional system to a majority system. This may be controversial with a lot of like anti-first past the post people, but just for both gameplay purposes and for just that way, like future parties, both myself and the opposition, don't really have to worry about a we don't have to worry about some type of like we have to rely on coalitions or something like that. It really kind of gives a lot of mutual benefit to all of the parties. The next one, we do have determined the balance of power between the state and Department of Justice. So that means that we're going to make it completely free, and we're going to increase our freedom status in the world. We do have reforestation and afforestation. We needed an additional 4 stars here. We did give it an additional 5, which did double the cost to $800 million. And then regulation of contraception. Basically, this will both benefit our, will cut costs by about $30 million, and then will also benefit our birth rates in the future. So within the coming years, we will have an increasing birth rate, even though it is a little bit minimal. So we do have to reform our immigration system at the same time. Regulation of rent increases. This is something I talked about in the election episode. Index-linked rent increases. So we will go ahead and start some regulations on the rent, the out-of-control rent in Australia. And that will be it. So we're going to have to go over to justice. We're going to go over to balance of power. And then we're going to go ahead and hit them with the total independence of the justice. This will be almost universally well received by the parliament. And let's go ahead and see what our relations are with Japan. And then let's go over here. And we have 13 and 15. So we need to start moving forward with more economic agreements. So let's go ahead and invite them over for a meeting. I'm going to try to get at least 1 or 2 contracts signed with them, export contracts most hopefully. And then we're probably going to try to get the best price that we can from them, but I'm not too certain that we would be able to get the best price.
You are giving
He is still here, so I am very surprised that our coalition has not collapsed as of yet, but hopefully they will be staying within Parliament for the next 3 years. Alright, and then at the same time, let's go ahead and invite Indonesia over for a meeting as well. We're going to be conducting some surveys over what kind of imports we have to go ahead and start going for. We do have the possibility of an out-of-control immigration situation occurring, so let's go ahead and start the process of vetting what we're going to do with immigration. Let's go up to Australia, and then illegal immigration, illegal 23,000. So we are going to be having some issues with India. We may have to start restricting passports to our visas to Indians just to make sure that we're not getting too many illegal immigrants just pouring into the country. Just for some reason, there is just like a clog of boats that are just sailing all across the Indian Ocean all the way over into Australia, and then they are walking all across the desert of the outback all the way over to Sydney and Melbourne and Canberra, as well as Brisbane and a little bit of Perth. For some reason, they're not just packing up in Perth, but they are getting all the way to LA, however you say that city's name. And they're probably making cities in the middle of the outback right now that we don't even know of, so you won't even know until about 20 years from now. But hopefully we don't have to worry about that in the future. We're going to go ahead and max out our secret services here, $71 million in cost. And we are going to also start monitoring some of the opposition parties here as well. Let's go ahead and put tabs on the Comfortist Right Coalition. I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on them, make sure that they are not up to anything good. And plus, if they have any funny business that we can hold on to in the next 3 years, then we can maybe try to get them to lose support within the next coming election. That is actually, that is something I wish that I was able to do, but usually I don't like to start off episodes or series in the middle of an election. I like to have it at least where I can just hold on to it for like a year or something like that. Once I'm able to do it for like a year, that's whenever it's way better, because I don't have to like struggle. Whenever I have to do it like right off the bat, I always end up struggling. All right, and then you may notice a difference in the budget over there. I do have a 2.25% deficit. That is because we just handed a $5 billion subsidy over to the tourism industry. And as well, we're going to go ahead and hand over a $1.5 billion subsidy to the attraction park sector. I'm going to go ahead and exonerate the attraction parks because they are not as well off as the tourism industry. Tourism is going to be handled by the one private company, which is called Ador AU, which is a subsidiary of a French company that is operating in Australia. And hopefully that the huge subsidy that we are handing to tourism will actually encourage other companies to start moving to Australia. Over the next maybe couple of months, one or two episodes, I will also be handing over subsidies, at least $30 billion in subsidies in total, probably, over to the industry, the industrial sector. I would say $30 billion over the next 3 years, probably by the next election, not at the same time. We have to raise funds here. We are already in a deficit of 0.35%. We're not going to try to just overload ourselves. We have to start focusing on growth, and then that subsidy is an investment, even though we will be borrowing money over the next couple of months, over quarters. We do have to make sure that we are able to invest. So we are also going to be overviewing our tax code. We may have to increase some taxes, unfortunately, but we're not going to be increasing the taxes that will be having an adverse effect on any of our economic indicators, which means that we have to make sure that we're able to raise money, but then we're also having to make sure that we're not scaring investors away from the country. So let's go ahead and get the show on the road, and then I will go ahead and review over the tax code and talk about any changes that we are going to be going over. Okay, and so here is what we have. We do have the Federal Surplus Act of 2025. We do have an increase on the tobacco tax to 75%. We have a decrease on the company tax from 30% to 28%. We do have an increase on the VAT tax, which is going to go from 10% to 10.25%. And we're going to be increasing that over time while decreasing other types of taxes. So this is all of our lower tax rates are going to be paid for by an increase on the VAT tax. That means, which it sounds counterintuitive, but usually the plan whenever I ever introduce a VAT tax, or if I ever increase the VAT tax, it's always going to be paid for. I'm always going to reduce the tax burden whenever I have to increase this tax burden, because this is going to be going on to the consumer themselves. So I always like to decrease things that will also promote business growth and economic growth, and also at the same time reduce things that will crush the average person, such as like a decrease to the income tax. Once we start getting up to close to 12%, then I will start to decrease these middle and low brackets. We're going to keep the high bracket about the same. We're just like the middle bracket. I mean, they're the middle class in Australia. They're getting skewered by the income tax. So that is definitely way too high. I would say we need to get that down to like 20%. This one I would like to get down to at least 5%. But yeah, income taxes, we are going to be going to war with the income tax. So 7% drop in popularity here, and then we're going to have to just watch to see what our like actual economic attractiveness goes to, whether it goes up or down. If it does go down, or like if it goes down, like it gets worse, then we are going to have to start worrying about, we're going to have to start getting the corporate tax even lower. But I don't think there should be a significant change. Maybe we go down a couple of spaces. I would say we're still going to be within the top 20. But then, so propose a military alliance, sales contract. All right, this is going to take a second, so I will be back whenever I am done. Okay, so I went ahead and signed some economic agreements with Japan, which should seriously benefit our economic relations. So that means, yep, our strategic alignment just went up to 49, which actually this should be able to get us a non-aggression treaty, which will benefit our military relations, which will get us to a full-on alliance. So let's go ahead and look.
Well done.
And first contract, let's go ahead and go here, go to economy, and then go to Japan. Let's see what this is. So neutral and then frowny face. Mostly this is probably going to be because of the price, and the revenue risk represented by this contract is insignificant compared to our global economic activity. Price is lower, sell us a portion of our production, will not have a significant impact on employment. So we're gonna think about canceling this one and renegotiating it somewhere else. But this was the natural gas agreement. We had the sale of a large portion of our production, represented by this contract is insignificant compared to our global economic activity. It's profitable, so exporting it will be beneficial for our economy. Oh, okay, so it's close to our usual rates, but it is profitable. So maybe the coal contract can go out the door, but this gas contract is actually really good now. And then, so the coal contract was worth about $19 billion. And then the natural gas contract was nearly $10 billion, about 8.16. So at a later time, we will go ahead and try to renegotiate these. Well, at least I would say no. I mean, we could try to go for a higher price. Let's go ahead and try to go for a higher price here. So let's go for 375 and maybe get a little bit more profit there. That'll actually at least benefit. Okay, good. Really good bilateral agreements with Japan right now. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and negotiate some import contracts coming in from Indonesia, and then we're going to go from there. All right, and then we do have a lot of those laws that just got passed. 183,000 people in the streets. I also did notice while making these reforms, we now have 40% of the parliament vote. So it looks like that whenever the collapse of the Green Party actually occurred, all of those seats got absorbed by our party. So we now have 40 and then 49%. So we have 60 seats and then we have 74 seats. So I think we're like 1 seat short of have an actual majority. So interesting to say the least. Is our coalition still alive? Looks like that the Justice is still... Who's around here? Yeah, okay. Apparently they disappeared. So, regulation of funding, free multi-party system. So, contraception got passed. Parliamentary elections got passed. Available position. Let's go ahead and hand that over to our party. And then we have the renegotiation of that higher price. And so, good. And Japan, let's go over here, 69, and then let's go to create a military alliance, support, and then try to upgrade that agreement. So really beneficial advances in bilateral...
We have a problem. My sources mention leaks to the press that risk compromising yourself. To be clear, I fear they will set in motion a particularly lethal Murphy dynamic.
Okay, let's hope that doesn't go into plan, but let's not do that in the future. I think usually whenever that happens, it's like someone gets thrown under the bus, but I don't really think it actually happens in my like impeachment. But even then, it's usually like a censor motion that I think comes forward, and so long as we have an actual majority, then we're fine. So I think we should be good from here. But interesting. Compromising
I fear
surveillance.
that we will be spotted by the target. I immediately sent the agents in charge into the field and destroyed all compromising evidence.
Okay, so apparently we shouldn't have spied on our opposition leader. So, apparently that really hit our popularity level. Okay, yeah. I'm really hoping that this doesn't screw
The
this
vote.
gameplay over. Okay, so
We have just learned that Israel has launched a series of airstrikes on Iran. The first explosions were reported in several areas of the country. According to sources, the intended targets were mainly military sites, as well as installations suspected of being involved in the creation of nuclear weapons. Tehran says this is an unprecedented act of aggression and promises an immediate response of unimaginable magnitude. The risk of open conflict between these two powers, which could engulf the entire region, is very real.
okay, so it looks like that Israel has launched a massive air campaign against Iran. We do have missiles that are currently flying between the two countries as of right now. We're going to go ahead and hope that this situation doesn't spiral out of control. I've actually seen it happen once or twice. And there are chances that these types of like scripted conflicts can go ahead and blow up into something much larger. So we're going to go ahead and just hope over the next 12 days, nothing specific on how I know that number, but we're going to hope over the next 2 weeks that this situation just mellows itself out. And we also do have to focus on our own political situation, as we are hopefully not going to be impeached because of our alleged spying on our opposition leader. Let's go ahead and increase, due to that popularity drop, we're going to increase our subsidies given to $13 billion throughout the entire agricultural sector. And then we're also going to wait for that tax reform to pass. Australia is attracting fewer investors. We are now at number 4. That was actually like number 6 earlier, so that's actually going up. We're now at number 5, so kind of going back and forth whenever it comes to economic attractiveness. And it looks like that this thing is still kind of acting weird whenever it shows you how many jobs have been created. So apparently this has created 5,000, 15,000, 100,000, million, 18 million jobs have been created over the past 6 months, allegedly. But let's go ahead and see what happens over the next couple of days. If anything happens, I will go ahead and return back. But we are going to go ahead and just go forward just a little bit more. Really good relations with Japan, and I'm also going to continue to try to get a free trade agreement with them. So we're actually going to pause it right here. We're going to go over to free trade, and then we're going to go to Japan, JJJ, and then we're going to go over to Global Economic Treaty, and then we're going to send that over to Japan, and we're going to wait for their response.
According to the Pentagon, strategic bombers have just struck Iranian nuclear sites at Fordow, as well as installations at Natanz and Isfahan, with bunker busters capable of penetrating bunkers that are buried deep. These strikes were intended to utterly destroy the uranium enrichment capabilities of Iran. Tehran is protesting this act of war and promises a response of equal aggression on U.S. interests.
All right, and huge development out of the Israel-Iran war. It looks like that the United States has launched a massive attack using B-2 bombers against nuclear research facilities in the middle of Iran. We do have a damaged facility here in just south of the city of Kashan, and as well as Isfahan has also been attacked. these are major developments off of this war that has been developing over the last week. So we are very much, like I said, hoping that the conflict does steady itself out. It looks like that the conflict between Israel and Iran has come to an end. So I think that it looks like that the American involvement with newly elected 45th and 47th President Donald J. Trump has stopped the war. So we are very concerned about the situation, but it looks like that it has stopped due to those attacks. Apparently, Iranian missile launchers are still out of their barracks, and we are just waiting to see if anything else develops. In other news, the Federal Surplus Act of 2025 has been passed, and so we do see that the vote right here does pass with 69.5 to does not show us the Senate, but we do have the economic treaty between Japan and Australia. Looks like the free trade agreement has been passed, and Japan has accepted our agreement. So we do see that the global economic treaty has been passed, and our tariffs between our two nations has been greatly reduced by 80% on average. Border control is very light, and then we are in compliance of security and health regulations imposed by the partner for incoming products. We now have access to their public markets and as well recognition of country of origin label by the partner, and as well anything with a quota on certain products considered strategic by the partner. And as well, apparently some of the National Association for Alternative World says we have a loss of sovereignty here. And then we do have some issues apparently with the credit agencies. Let's go over here to debt, and then let's see AAA, and just single A. So it looks like the Qigong a credit agency with a 1-star significance rating has lowered our credit rating, unfortunately. But we are not too worried about that, as we still hold a AAA with every other credit agency, and we have not lost any type of credit rating with them yet. But we do want a AAA across all 4, but AAA against 3, that is still a very safe investment for everyone else involved. 5 is our economic attractiveness after that tax reform has been passed. We do have a corporate tax rate of 0.58, and then we still want to increase that, so we need to just get our corporate tax rate lower and lower. I want to reach for about 21%, so that we were still eligible for things like the political and economic agreement that we do want to go for in the future. We have a 0.6% deficit right now. We are running a deficit. We are hoping to start growing ourselves out of this deficit. It does look like we are having a sharp decrease in growth for the month. Let's go ahead and look to see any activity here. Go over to tourism. And then we have a $1 billion increase in sales and a $300 million increase in profits. So our tourism industry is starting to get better. We have capture and air method that just got passed, and production capacity is insufficient. So I know in the last episode I did focus on building some energy places. We do want to start going for that, especially on the nuclear front. I know Australia has some type of awareness against nuclear, but we do want to start changing that policy if we want to compete with electricity, and especially we want to start lowering electricity prices. We do want to start subsidizing the electricity sector in general, mainly because this would decrease prices, especially for the consumer, which would also increase our economic attractiveness. All right, and then so just a minute ago, I did build a handful of wind power plants. We do have a new message from the Minister for Energy. Stimulation of electricity production. Your decision to develop our power grid is wise. It will boost our production capacity as well. And as our country is an electricity importer, our national production will immediately increase thanks to these new power plants, reducing our imports and dependence on foreign sources. This production will indeed be prioritized for our citizens. So very good news here to see that we are investing into the future of Australia. We do have a $6.5 billion incurrence of debt, but we can handle that. Road safety accidents on the increase. I know that Australia is for some reason having an increase in road accidents, which we will be taking care of as soon as we get this deficit down. We do have to start thinking about ways that we can decrease the deficit immediately rather than waiting for our growth to start stimulating itself. We do have to start considering the possibility of other free trade agreements. Let's go ahead and go for a simple agreement with the European Union. Apparently, we don't have one. I always thought Australia would have one with the EU, but apparently not. The UK, we need to go ahead and build one with the UK. Let's go to all the way down, and then the United Kingdom, and so reciprocal, global economic treaty, and then who else do we want to do one with? We could do one with Norway, that would work. South Korea, do we have really good relations with them? They could probably go for like a reciprocal, but I don't know about a global. Tanzania, South Africa, do they have a comparable economy to ours? Not really. They're actually like pretty small compared to us. Bolivia could take one. Mexico could possibly take one. We're pretty aligned economically. Economic now. Well, let's try a reciprocal. Let's go for Norway. I know they have a pretty big economy. And then let's go for Mexico. Mexico, we're going to do a reciprocal. So Mexico, and then reciprocal. Now, the reason I do reciprocal, I want to do reciprocal for like third world nations. Basically, the reason is because whenever you do a global or like free up trade between a small like third world country, mainly dependent on agriculture and industrial goods, whenever you do that with a first world country, it can become more of a outsourcing type of thing where we end up losing jobs compared to, why do we have to spend, $15 on a rug from Australia whenever I can buy one for $5 from Tanzania. So we do want to kind of limit the free trade agreements that we have with other countries, not for any other reason except just not to flood our market with extremely cheap goods. We want to make sure that we're focusing on our own production while also building a coalition of nations economically. Japan is very close to us now. I'm very glad that even though we have very opposite economic political leanings, we are able to see past that and build a very strong relationship with each other. We're going to go ahead and sign a full-on military alliance with each other, and I will also in the future give naval rights to both countries. The EU seems to have accepted our proposal.
The Commission has deliberated and has agreed to put this commercial agreement.
All right, we're going to go ahead and let the EU vote on that, and then as soon as that happens, we will go ahead and call it a day here. I also did see that on the news, I don't know if I can pull it up, but the judge that was actually presiding over the case for spying on the opposition leader, he actually dropped the case, and you could actually see that through this. There was no notification or anything like that. But basically, he did drop the case, in which now we don't have to worry about that. We just have to, be very careful in the future. But apparently they dropped it due to insufficient evidence in the case. So very, 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 very exciting, but we just want to make sure we don't do that again. In army, we could increase our army. I'm gonna say we could go for a 300 or 500,000 strong standing army. We do need to militarize due to the Chinese threat up in the northern ocean, in the East Asian sphere. We do want to start helping our Japanese allies in case of any type of conflict that arises in the region. we do want to at least compare ourselves militarily to Japan. We want to build up our missile reserves, especially. We are very low in terms of missiles. We have 405 missiles individually. Let's go ahead and go to Australia, and then let's go for 1,000 missiles, could we? Let's say another 3.7 billion dollars. Let's go ahead and send that over. 0.63% deficit here. This is going to be a very interesting episode because we are going to be worse off economically than we were whenever this episode started. We are at the very end of the episode. We are almost to agreement negotiation, 3.99, $4 billion. Yeah, let's go ahead and accept that, and then we're gonna go on. Australia, or the EU, should be accepting our free trade agreement very soon. Mexico has accepted ours. Norway has accepted ours, and the UK has accepted ours. We should be getting a very huge boost in growth very, very soon. Japan is worth $254 billion. The UK is worth $229 billion. Mexico is $116 billion, and Norway is $31 billion. We do want to go for one with the United States, and so I'll go ahead and actually send one over to the US, and then we're going to go ahead and call this episode quits for today.
The voting will now begin. I remind you that the results will be up.
All right, it looks like that the EU has accepted our proposal here. 27-0, so we now have a free trade agreement with our EU allies, and then we also apparently have to set a minister for foreign affairs because apparently they just cannot stay in power. Let's go ahead and put Kristen Burley into the role, and then let's go over here. The United States has accepted our global economic treaty. Good. Exciting news here. And let's look. 43-33. I do want a full-on military. Actually, we do have a full-on military alliance with the United States because, well, looks like we have no alliance here, but we do have a nuclear umbrella. So I'm not too sure how we have a nuclear umbrella with them whenever we have no alliance, but I digress. Let's go ahead and take a look here. And in the next episode, we're going to start really thinking about another tax reform just so we can balance the budget. We really need to think about how we're going to be able to get ourselves on the row. We do have to worry about how we're going to get ourselves like economically stable. We are very stable economically, I would say, but more so just deficit-wise, that way we're not incurring a lot of debt. Our stock market is kind of slumping right now, and our GDP is on its way up, but we are still having some issues. Economic attractiveness is number 4 out of 5. We are increasing our stance in the world, and we are below the United States, Argentina, and Lebanon. Apparently, Lebanon is more economically attractive than the United States, which, I mean, with everything that's happened and maybe they're freeing up the market there in Lebanon, I would not be surprised. But look, Lebanon actually would be a very interesting role to play just because of how just screwed they are economically. But the fact that they are number 2 right now is hilarious to me. But other than that, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it to the channel. If you guys want to see more, just hit that bell notification icon and don't miss anything whenever I do make it to the channel. But other than that, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Australia.